Live. Oh, I'm glad the reconnection is successful, but I'm still. And we got picture. Wonderful. Hey guys, what's up? This is Full Spools 123, and I am back on my channel. Now, sorry guys, it's just been a long day. I've been up since 7 o'clock this morning, and so I am still just kind of getting into things. And we're going to be up for the next couple hours, so sorry about this kind of like rambly introduction. So basically what I wanted to do was, I think last year I did my first live stream, the quality was potato shit, and now it's not potato shit, it's like a lovely Duchess potato shit. Like, it's still not great, but I have refined it to a level of decency. Hopefully. I mean, let me know in like the live chat if you think my quality is trash, because I am trash, because I completely understand. Also, guys, you're like, Ryan, why do you always wear this hoodie? And it's because it looks cute on me. I feel cute in this. And I just do not have enough clothing in my wardrobe that just makes me feel like a nice, fluffy, mashed potato human being. Because sometimes you just want to feel comfy and warm and whole inside. You know? Like, yay. Anyway, guys, I have a lot of fun stuff planned for this evening. If you, like, just didn't feel like going to a New Year's party, or you can't because of the COVID. Oh no, I got demonetized. Just kidding, I'm not monetized anyway. I thought I'd just talk about books for like 3 hours or something. I don't know. I'm a weirdo. But pretty much what I thought I'd be doing for today is I'll start with my Goodreads wrap-up. I think I read like 60 or so books. Probably read a few more than that. I don't think I've vlogged all of them, but whatevs. I'm going to be doing my December wrap-up. So the books I read in December, it's not that many just because I've kind of been a trash human being this month. I started like 3 or 4 or like 5 books and then I didn't finish them. I'll try to mention those, but whatevs. And then there's a couple fun book tags I'm going to do because I like book tags and we have like, kind of the time. And I thought I would end it off if, it's not quite midnight, by talking about my New Year's resolution. So that's going to be fun. Also, I'm going to be drinking Black Cherry White Claw this entire time. And mostly just because I miss Echo Rose and I wish she would get back on her channel. But I understand she can't because of the corona and it sucks. And I love her so much. And this is the closest thing that makes me feel like I'm participating in ARG because I'm too lazy to start any new ones. So yay, White Claw. Also, I like the meme. It always hits different than I think it will. So, let's get started with my Goodreads wrap-up, or my 2020 year in books, or what the fuck it's called. I don't even know. Also, little complaint to Goodreads, if I'm being honest, is that it makes it impossible, impossible to find this year in books shit. My neighbors like to put off, firecrackers, which, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's something I used to do when I was a kid. We would, get sparklers, and would have, these 5-gallon buckets full of water, and we'd set off, those screamers in the middle of the street. I used to love those, but nowadays, I just stay inside and get drunk. So, adulthood, people, adulthood, oh my goodness. Yes, that's also how I drink at parties. So, let's start off, and we're going to be, let's see, 2020. My year in books. I have read 15,978 pages across 62 spectacular tomes of erudition and enlightenment. I'm going to stop doing that voice. The shortest book, which I will really call a short story if we being honest, is To Be or Not to Bro. To Be or Not to Be by Kurt Vonnegut, which was 15 pages. And the longest book was Neil Gaiman's American Gods at 635 pages. Wow. That is just, it was a chunker. I read it as an audiobook, and it was about 10, 12 hours. It was a hefty boy, I tell you what. My average book length in 2020 is 257 pages. That sounds about right. The most popular was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. That was the first book I read this year. And the least popular was All Creatures Great and Small, which weirdly enough, was a advent calendar stocking stuffer in which they wrote 31 romance short stories. And also, one thing I found was really interesting is that all of them actually had the same cover title, like, in the thing. So, all of them, like, had that as, like, the front piece, that, pinup drawing, and it had nothing to do about the actual short story. Like, I'm going to be courteous and call it a novella. It was a short story, okay? My average rating for 2020 was 4.0. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm a positive person, okay? It's like, it's hard for me to talk shit about, like, things unless I really hate it. So most things I'm going to label as, like, a 4. I didn't love it, but I liked it, so it's a 4, so I'm pretty genial. Like, I don't really have too many books that I read that I dislike, but if I really like a book, I'll tell you about, like, why, I try to be nuanced, and I think that numerical ratings can be very, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess marginalizing. They can definitely fit things into a box that doesn't really show the full nuance of what I like and what I don't like about it. That's why I try to, like, babble on about books I like, And I do not have a drinking game for, like, today. I'm just going to drink White Claw and talk about books, so, yeah. Highest rated on Goodreads was So You Want to Talk About a Race by Jima Olu. I believe it's a fantastic novel. I'm going to talk about it later tonight, so yeah. Gillian Flynn, Gone Girl, my first review of the year. I rated this 5 stars. Oh, wow. And let's actually see what I said about it, and I shall do a funny voice. I thoroughly enjoyed Gone Girl. The character of Amy was initially sympathetic, but as the story progressed, you realize how flawed both of the main characters are. Overall, Gone Girl shows a realistic view of the media circus that arises over America's obsession with true crime, and the Nancy Grace effect. This secondary perspective, which I will not spoil, has a catch-me-if-you-can vibe to it, providing a juicy amount of detail. The feminist undertones were nuanced and provided contrast to the actions of the characters. Overall, Gone Girl is a disturbing character-driven thriller that plays with our own deception of true crime. Maybe it's just because I've been blogging this entire year and doing reviews. First thing I noticed is that there is so many freaking grammatical issues with this, review. I want to go in there and edit it now, because I'm just like, America needs to be capitalized, and there needs to be commas, and, like, that's the wrong form of weight, like, all that. Another thing I noticed is that I feel like if I was really going to do a good review about this, I should really separate, like, into, like, sections, but I'm kind of going off, so I'm going to skip that. Here is just a pretty, kind of, collage of all the books I read. Once again, it was 62, so that's pretty good, actually. Like, go me. This was my last review of the year. I wrote this during, the salsa. I wrote this during, I think, sometime during the summer. Freshwater is also a really amazing book. I've talked about it a lot on my channel. And it says, absolutely fantastic. Amezi handles issues such as culture, religion, sexuality, gender identity, and and mental health in a surrealistic and poetic novel. Trigger warning, suicidal ideation, self-harm, eating disorders, and sexual assault. So, it's a really good book, but once again, that review is kind of shit. Now, since we is having the fun, I'm going to get started with the books I read in December. Now, this wasn't probably the best reading, I guess, month for me. I keep saying that every month, but let's be honest. Sometimes your boy is stressing, and sometimes your boy don't got, a, I guess, regulated time schedule, and that just does not really work well with me when reading. With reading, I like to read at certain parts of the day. I like to read at the same times today. I like to have regulation in my life, so when I'm in, a situation where there is no regulation, and I just want to sleep in all the time and drink all the time, then I'm not a ready boy, and I'm just I feel bad because I have a booktube channel, and you think, oh, Ryan, you read a lot, right, if you have an entire channel on it, but bitch, you would be incorrect. I'm just saying. Drinking liquids. The silent filler of the actions of life. But enough of that. Let's actually get into the books I read. And I'm just counting these down. And those will be 7. So, Not too bad. I read about one every 3-4 days, so good on me, actually. That's not bad. A lot of these war graphic novels, and one of those was a children's book, but you know what? I ain't quantifying it. Good on me for reading that much. And I'll make a slight little mention about the books I didn't finish this month, too. Why not? We got the time. It's been like 10 minutes. Oh, freaking no. Wow, 11 minutes and 2 seconds exactly. Go me, Ryan. So, first up was Radical Hope by Carolina Perobins. And I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so Radical Hope was actually a series of essays or letters. They were called letters, but really we should go with essays. You get it. You understand. Basically, Carolina Roberts talked to all of these academics, all of these writers, all of these activists, and they're like, yo, basically, we're in the worst timeline. Trump is the presidente. And can you just write a letter to talk about, like, how life sucks and intersectionality and all that? And they're just like, don't worry, we got you, boo. And so the novel split into 3 sections. It was basically the present, and the future. And each of the letters are written to, like, a different person by a different author, and they were all really interesting. They're all different, Some of them were more, I guess, happy or lighthearted. There was this one which really stuck with me. It was, I don't remember what it was called, and this is a live stream, so I can't edit it in. But basically, it was in the future section, and it was this one woman's writing to her great granddaughter. So, like, 15 generations in the future or something. And it was this long letter talking about the immigration experience, about all these horrors and terrors that it takes for people to, immigrate from Latin America to, the U.S. and all the things they've had to go through, and basically how fucked up the U.S. immigration system is. And it was just really heartbreaking. I shed some tears. This book will make you sob buckets and cry like a little bitch baby, which, honestly is cathartic, but it also definitely has a lot of political commentary, a lot of social commentary, a lot of just, I guess, really great viewpoints and heritage, and what it really means to be an American, what it means to be an immigrant, and what it means to be a lot of different things, and how society affects you, and how I think a lot of people, and I'm going to get political, but when am I not on this channel? As I'm a political person, I think politics are important, because if you're not political, it basically means that you have the privilege not to care that your rights and your liberties are going to be up for grabs in 2 years, because they hire some Catholic to fuck with your shit. Fine. Anyway, and that's not a dig at Catholics. I'm just really angry about Amy Corbett Barrett, and I do not like her because she is trash like most politicians. Yay. Moving on. But basically, I think one of the main things that we take away from the whole Trump era, from the Trump presidency, is that not that, oh, this was a fluke, that we just hired some idiot because we were sick of politicians, but that in actuality, America has a lot of issues. It has a lot of issues based on class. It has a lot of issues based on race, and considering how closely tied race and class are, we have above issues with the intersectionality of both of them, and it's not getting better. And Trump isn't a catalyst for this. Trump is just a emblem. It is a symptom of our country, of us being so, I guess, really messed up, of not having this empathy, of having this racial antagonism, having these systems of oppression that if you're not a straight white cis guy who was born middle class, that you're basically being fucked up. And Trump really shows just how clear the misogyny and racism and other issues we have in this country are, because it's the ugly truth revealed with no subtext, with no nuance, with no, I guess, tact. And I think that if there's anything we can take forward as a country, as a society, as a culture, however you want to phrase it, is that we need to pay attention to the issues that have been raised. We need to pay attention to kind of the problems that everyone can see. Not just the problems that, everyone's been telling us about since, the fucking 60s, but actually taking what, everyone's, wool out of their eyes, scales off their eyes, whatever's, in front of their eyes, metaphorically, and actually dealing with that. Not saying, hey, we should have seen this a long time ago, but it's also important to recognize and take from that and try to grow. And that's something I've been trying to do this year. I'm not going to make it about me because, honestly, like, fuck whatever I'm saying, you know? It's not my pain, but, like, you know, I'm trying to have my own journey. And one thing that I thought was really interesting about Radical Hope was just how much I could relate to it politically. How much I could relate to 2016 America that I could relate to in 2020 America. How there was still the Black Lives Movement. How there was still all of these issues around race and police brutality and immigration. All these other things that were so prevalent 4 years later, but just exaggerated because of the pandemic. And it made me... And it was Radical Hope. And when I was reading it, I was having this really hard emotional time where I guess the most dramatic way you could say it was that I was having, like, you know, I lost my faith in humanity. There's thinking to myself, how can I exist in a world and think there's good when we live in a world that only benefits the rich, that only benefits these systems of power, and everyone else is essentially a serf, essentially is a lower citizen who isn't expected to have basic human rights, like, you know, being able to eat and not die in the streets because they can't afford it. And, you know, reading Radical Hope, a lot of it was the idea of hope, of having this belief in something, because you need to believe to be able to grow. You need to have this idealism so that the realism doesn't stop you from going forward. And it was definitely some inspiration. It was definitely some encouragement I needed as a person. And I think that if you're looking for, I guess, just a breath of hope, a breath of fresh air, something that's not absolute dog shit this year, definitely a great, like, you know, book. I imagine that things are only going to be status quo at the moment, especially since, let's be honest, Biden is simply a sock puppet of neoliberalism, but let's stop getting off that politic beat. So the next book was a graphic novel, and I was thinking to myself, Ryan, are there any graphic novels on Libby? Because I didn't know. I know my library has graphic novels, but I don't know if, like, my library app has them. So I was like, let me check. And it turns out they do. Unfortunately, and I'm actually thirsty, so let me take a sip. That's why I love seltzer. So my main library actually has a bunch of really great adult graphic novels. Not those kinds, guys. Come on, jeez. But no, it has a lot of just really... I'm trying to think of, like, what you could define as an adult graphic novel off the top of my head. I guess, like, Moz or something, but it has a bunch of different novels, and some of them were really serious, really in-depth topics, so it just told through, like, you know, illustrated, like, you know, comics and stuff. And so I think it's always important to consider that format is not the end-all, be-all when it comes to the stories being told. Because you can tell really simple stories with text, and you can tell really emotional, in-depth, and culturally significant stories with pictures. And I think that we really should not be snobbish when it comes to format. That's just my opinion. That being said, I did find a couple really fun graphic novels this year, and the first one is... excuse me, I am just... It's the salsa, I tell you. But if you want to know, this is White Claw. If you're just coming in, I do love my White Claw, because apparently I am a valley girl. Next up was The Girl Who Owned a City by O.T. Nelson. And let me just get my thoughts together. Essentially, it exists in a post-apocalyptical society in which all of the adults died because of some sort of, like, hand-wavy plague of some kind. Basically, it's like Lord of the Flies situation. Never actually read that. I should probably read that next year, maybe. I don't know. And so, you have this main character, I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's basically like, yo guys, we should start a militia and then start a city. And everyone's like, well, I don't know how I feel about that, because, like, you know, woman leader, ew, sexism. But they're like, you know, we should band together because there's all those militias. And she's like, well, militias are bad because they steal, and I don't steal, I scavenge, so there's a difference. And I can't say, like, off the top of my head that I guess the plot of the themes was super, I guess, fleshed out. There was definitely this idea of whether or not someone should have control, if someone, let me rephrase that. There's definitely a lot of themes about the, I guess, heavy is the head that wears the crown, the idea of the tools of leadership, who should be a leader, why someone should be a leader, and whether or not that's okay. And I think there's also definitely some themes that they can be really dug into. But if we're talking about, like, how well the story explores those themes, it's fairly surface level. I like the plot, I like the characters, I thought it was, like, not a bad read. It had some interesting world building, it had some interesting characters, and I definitely liked how they did the whole sort of kids without, I guess, adult influences, without, I guess, the influences of our society and how they would create their own society. I thought that was actually fairly fascinating, and as, like, sort of a comic in that story and that sort of, like, I guess, premise, it was pretty good. It was also pretty dark because, dead parents, children militias, so it's not going to be like hunky-dory, bubbly, speaking of bubbly. What can I say? I'm thirsty. So, the next one I read was Ghost by Rina Togemiya. I believe that's correct. My handwriting's atrocious, so sorry about that. Ghost was a lot... It was definitely a different, I guess, sort of tone. Wow, Ryan, you are so good at speaking today. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning. I'm still a little loopy. So, Ghost is essentially a story about a family. The youngest daughter has cystic fibrosis, which I did not really know anything about cystic fibrosis. I had heard about it as a disease, but I didn't know what it was about. And essentially, if I understand correctly, essentially you have the bronchi in your lungs, and with cystic fibrosis, you'll have this really intense mucus or this inability for air to get into the alveoli of the bronchi. And so it basically makes it more and more difficult to breathe over time. And that's horrifying. Like, just right out there, that is probably the top 10 most terrifying diseases I've ever heard of. And I really hope that there's more research done into that, because I really feel very, I guess, sympathetic for, those people's situations, and I just wish for them to have the best. But essentially, the youngest daughter has cystic fibrosis. It kind of plays it's an, I guess, subtext of the story. A lot of the imagery of the story is about wind and air and breathing, and so the sister having cystic fibrosis is kind of like a big thing in it. Another big part of it is kind of the inevitability of death. And you're like, wow, Ryan, that sounds so much more bubblier. Just sick children and death. But it's not truly sicklet. It's not shown through the eyes of the little sister. It's shown through her older sister, who doesn't want to come to this town. Who's like, all my friends are in the other town. Why do we have to go to this creepy coastal town that, helps us get back into with all Latino heritage? Actually, I believe it's Hispanic heritage. My apologies. Helps us get back in touch with our Hispanic heritage that we've never really had a chance to appreciate while we celebrate Dia de los Muertos. And that's kind of another thing was, the main two things are cystic fibrosis, right, and essentially Hispanic culture. They meet up, the town is, I believe, a majority of Hispanic, or at least they are culturally Hispanic. They celebrate Dia de los Muertos, very heavily, especially since the town is essentially... it's hella haunted. They have a lot of ghosts, and so they're just, best place to see your dead parents. So that's, a fun time. And I think a lot of it is just about, I guess, memories and culture and, I guess, really appreciating the most out of life. And so there's a lot of really happy, enjoyable themes in it, while also literally having a sort of middle grade young adult story about the inevitability of death. So it's definitely a fine line tonal-wise, but it somehow feel good, which I really appreciate. And I also just appreciate the level of authenticity, the level of care that went into the details of telling this story. I don't know if Telejimia is Hispanic. I don't know what her, I guess, identity or heritage is, but the way it's portrayed was just very beautifully done, and it showed a lot of respect towards Dia de los Muertos, towards Hispanic culture in general, and it was a lovely time reading it. Next up, this is my third graphic novel. I think I read, after this is an audiobook, a comic book, which is cool, and a picture book. And that was Lumberjanes Volume 1. Now, I've seen this around on BookTube, and... excuse me. Whenever I say it, I'm thinking The Plain Janes, but no, it's a completely different series. The Lumberjanes gave me some... Gravity Falls vibes, right? You have these interesting, over-the-top characters. You have this sort of, like, forest, like, supernatural, mystical setting, and it's a night. I loved everything about it. If you like Gravity Falls, you would love this. Like, you would literally be just like, where has this been my entire life? Like, why the fuck isn't this like a feature-length cartoon? I love everything about this. Excuse me. Some chest congestion because of the cold. And I'm trying to remember the exact plot of it. Basically, the Lumberjanes are in this camp, and it has, like, this ridiculous, like, pompous name. It's just, like, Lady Thistlebee's, like, camp for the encouragement of fine breeding in women. Or, like, some, like, Victorian bullshit like that. But then they're going off on, like, all these adventures and fighting, like, sea monsters and going into, like, these temples of doom and have to do math to, like, get out of it. And it's just a really nice time, and I loved everything about it. And... this is Volume 1, so apparently this is a series. Catch me getting the whole damn thing, because I had a great time. And I also really loved all the characters. Like, all the characters were really unique. They were all really, like, different, like, I guess, styles of characters. And it was, like, an almost all-female cast, which was cool. I really like that. You don't see enough female characters in, like, supernatural and sort of, like, fantasy action stories. So, that was awesome. I really liked that. And I don't know if it's confirmed later on, but there's definitely at least the implication of a sapphic relationship in the story, so I will love to see that develop if I find the rest of the Lumberjane books, but let's move on. So, next up was the first audiobook I listened to, and the only audiobook I listened to, but what the fuck ever, and that was You Can't Touch My Hair and Other Things I Still Have to Tell White People by Phoebe Robinson. So if you can't tell, just by that title alone, little background, Phoebe Robinson, I believe, is one of the hosts of Two Dope Queens, which is a podcast I've heard of but never listened to, so I might have to check that out for my blog. That'd be kind of cool. And the whole thing is essentially one of those, like, sort of comedic memoir autobiographies, and it's so freaking funny. There's some really great chapters in it. Like, one of my favorites was the history of black hair. And she just goes so much into basically, like, her own experiences, like, straightening her hair when she was younger. And then she goes into, like, this literal, like, long-ass, like, biographical history of, like, different black hairstyles and what they meant culturally and why they were important. And it was so freaking cool. And I think that's, like, definitely something that is kind of weird, especially between, like, white and black people, is just, like, hair. And I feel like I'm not doing justice. Essentially, a lot of the issues is that white society, like, white patriarchy, whatever you fucking want to call it, essentially demonize, like, Afro-textured hair, and it's unprofessional, saying that women need to straighten it. And so a lot of African-American women have felt societally pressured to straighten it if they wanted to have jobs and all these other things. And over time, like, people start reclaiming it, start having, like, things like afros and pos and all these, like, different sort of hairstyles as a way of sort of taking back from that, I guess, assimilation. And one of the big issues that a lot of people have, of things like dreadlocks, if people have, like, white actresses having, like, box braids or other styles like that, is just because of how much cultural baggage that goes between the forced assimilation of Afro-textured hairstyles and then these white people being like, oh my goodness, it's so cute on you, I want to wear it, without really recognizing how much, like, cultural, I guess, resistance, how much, I guess, self-discovery that a lot of African-American people have had to have a hairstyle like that. And I remember it was touched about on, So You Want to Talk About Race by Jimmy Liu. I said I was going to mention it before. She also has a chapter where she discusses that, or I believe that's the book. Yeah, that is. I had to think about that because I read a few books from African American writers at the time. I want to make sure it's the right one. But yes, she also has a chapter where she discusses her own experiences with that issue. What I really liked about Phoebe Robinson when she was discussing it is that it was a lot more, I guess, I hate phrasing like that, but palatable. It was entertaining. It was like, hilarious the way she goes about it, and it was also very enlightening, like as she discusses all these different things. And that's one thing I love about Phoebe Robinson, whether she's a very comedic person, she's very not genre savvy, cultural savvy. She makes a bunch of pop culture references, and I don't get all of them because we have an age difference here, but I love when characters. I love when writers. I love when people write that type of thing. Where you have all these pop culture references, because even if over time they become dated, it's still a very enjoyable sort of light way of making references, of having this intertextuality. And so that's one thing I really liked about Phoebe Robinson. She's a hilarious person. And even though she's like cracking all these jokes and talking about like how great How to Get Away with Murder is, she also has these really deep social commentary messages that she wants to talk about. And she talks about her discrimination as a black woman in comedy. She talks about like a lot of other issues she faces as a woman of color, and all these other different intersectionalities. And it's just a really great book. If there's one thing I've actually been really enjoying reading these sort of comedic memoirs. I read, one by Tig Notaro. I've read one by Amy Poehler. And so Phoebe Robinson's, I guess, will be like the third one of that sort of vein. And I found this actually a style of subgenre that I've been really enjoying. And so this was just a great time. It really sort of made me happy this year. And I'm actually going to mention it later in my book tag. So just let's keep going. Trick or Treat is the next one. So if you don't know, Trick or Treat was a 2010 horror anthology movie. Directed by Michael Doughty. If the name sounds familiar, he also directed the Krampus film. Well, the Krampus film you're probably thinking of. There's like 8 apparently. I watched this Man of the Jedi video, whatever, keep going. And what you might not know is that Trick or Treat has not gotten a sequel, even though it has been promised or at least alluded to by the production company. Excuse me. But it has had a comic book tie-in. That's really cool. And, excuse me again. Like I'm telling you, you seltz it, you get the bubbly. It's like that fizzy lifting drink thing or whatever. Anyway, what was I, guys? So Michael Doughty basically wrote the Trick or Treat comic anthology with 4 other authors. It was, I believe, inked by... Yeah, so the main drawings were done by 4 different artists, and I believe the inking was done by the same person, but don't quote me on that. What's really interesting that you need to know about comics is that there are several stages that are all done by different people, essentially. For a general comic, you usually have the writer, the storyboarder, so think Jack Kirby, I guess. Then usually there are pencilers, inkers, and letterers. And those are all usually different people doing different professions to create the master copy of a comic. So a single comic can have a 8 or 10 person staff on it. So it's always really important when you're talking about comics to recognize that there are so many different fields and so many different layers of expertise that actually go into creating a single comic. So, that being said, I believe that Michael Doughty was co-writing the entire book with 4 other writers and 4 other illustrators, so each short story in it had a different art style, which is really cool. I'm not going to get into each one of the stories, but suffice to say, they were all fairly unique. One was a sort of like ghost love story, gothic romance, Ryan, oh my goodness, get it right. Second one was set during the Wild West, and it was kind of a... I'm not really sure to describe it, but definitely a pretty interesting... That's basically the setting was Wild West. Excuse me. One was a, weirdly enough, like a horror noir story, which was really fascinating because you don't see noir very often anymore, and it's one of my favorite genres, actually, even though I barely read it. I love the idea, the imagery, the sort of chutzpah of it. Hopefully I said that right. I don't really use a lot of, Yiddish loanwords. Anyway. And the last one is kind of like the bridge narrative, and I kind of find it the weakest of all of them. It gives me some, sort of Last Halloween vibes, but it's not my favorite. If you don't know, Trick or Treat, the original, the movie, was an anthology that had, I believe, 4 stories as well, and they were all interconnected. Now, the comic is sort of almost an origin story for the main character. I believe his name was Sam. He's this pumpkin head, scarecrow kid, and he's pretty freaky. And so you'll see him like throughout each of the 4 short stories. And so that's really how it ties in. Personally, I liked it. I thought it was a decent tie-in. I really liked the stories, and it is a good time. Someday maybe we can get to see Trick or Treat 2, but if not, that was just kind of a cool like little piece of storyline that worked for it. The last book I read, and I literally just picked this up I think a couple of days ago, was a child's book on disobedience, which that sounds so intense. Like, that sounds like something that, like, a Catholic private school, like, teacher would, like, give to a kindergarten and be just like, "You filthy and guilty of sin." Once again, no shade in Catholics. It's just, like, that visual imagery in our culture, not trying to be offensive. Like, you do you, boo. I have a lot of respect for various aspects of, like, your religious practice. But actually, what I found out, because I missed, like, I remember reading these books as a kid, and I just didn't think anything about it, but what were these books? Like, where did they come from? And I remember that they were purchased or, like, got by my grandmother, who was I can't remember, family advocate was her position for a while, but essentially she worked at Head Start, so she had a lot of knowledge, like, over her years there of child development, of, I guess, sort of that kindergarten, preschool, like, part of child development. And so she had like a lot of knowledge and resources on like those types of things. So as a kid, I read like a lot of books that were kind of like, here's how to make friends, here's how to be nice to people, here's how not to be a complete dickweed, you asshole child. And so I'm just like, I'm imagining it was something like that, right? So I look it up, and what's really crazy, and I'm just like, what the heck? Because who actually like, where's the part of book 2 that talks about, like, child development books from the 60s or whatever? Actually, I think the series came out in the 80s, but whatevs. Is that Joy Berry is actually a child development or child psychiatrist, something of the sort. And she actually wrote, I believe, like, 7 book series, right? That go from all the way from, like, tiny toddlers, like my little cousin Steven's age, all the way to teenagers, and they all talk about, like, different parts of, like, child development. So this book series, the child's book disobedience, was like the 5-6-year-old ones, and it's like, and that's basically where the child is, I guess, sort of going past the egotism, where they're starting to realize that the world doesn't revolve around them because they're not little, like, perfect angels. And each of the books was supposed to cover a different aspect of, like, basically a flaw, right? So there was one, like, how not to be inconsiderate, how not to be messy, how not to be a little piece of shit who gives your mother a headache. And the disobedience one is basically like, hey, sometimes your parents ask you not to do shit for a good reason, like, don't touch the hot thing because you'll burn the shit out of yourself. And one thing I thought was really interesting was actually, it was fairly nuanced. It wasn't, I guess, you kind of have this expectation with, like, books like this for them to be very much listen to your parents, even, which is usually good advice, but as we all know, not every parent is getting the gold star and being a good human being and not a piece of shit who uses their children. Not like casting shit anywhere, I'm just saying there are people out there like that. And there's actually some really great instances where it's like, usually your parents, you can trust your parents and what they're talking about. And I would love there to be sort of more information about what to do if you have an abusive parent, if you have a parent that isn't looking out for you. But at the same time, this was written for 6-year-olds, and I'm not sure if 6-year-olds could really grasp the nuance of that statement. But there was definitely some stuff, and one thing I really liked about was that it was saying, your parents have a reason why they need you to not do things, and in a good parent-child relationship, they should be able to explain why they don't want you to do something. You should be able to understand the rules that you're given. So you have a framework that you have an understanding of why you shouldn't eat cookies before dinner, or why you shouldn't, touch a hot thing. And there's also the idea that you have these, and everything that you laid out was actually very, I guess, appropriate, very based for, I guess, what we would call, I guess, our modern sensibilities, especially for a book written in the 80s. Because, it doesn't talk about, I guess, sort of corporeal punishment, which is such a weird euphemism that we use these days, but you know what I mean. It doesn't talk about situations like, it's something like, hey, sometimes you're disobedient, sometimes your parents are going to punish you. But it's a very, I guess, sympathetic view of punishment, because when I was a kid, my parents would vary my punishments, they would use different things, and I guess, way that the parenting was shown in the book was very much, I believe, deprivation punishment is what it's called, where you take away things or forbid a child from using something. Now, this can be grounding, but this can also be things like, oh, I'm not letting you eat your chocolate because you ate it before dinner and I told you not to, and you're not going to get it this week. And so, like, stuff like that. And so, I thought that was actually very well done, especially from, I guess, what we kind of now see as, like, modern, I guess, parenting standards. And I'm not a parent. I've never raised children, and I've barely babysat children, so take all I've just said, this, like, first 15 minutes with a grain of salt. But I actually really appreciated how Joy Berry handled the situation, especially when you can definitely have these very, I guess, toxic relationships when it comes to disobedience in children. Because when I was a kid, my husband was just like, because I said so. And I'm just like, well, doesn't really help me understand your reasoning so I can be a better person and grow and kind of understand why I shouldn't do something. Because someone tells me no, I'm just like, okay, but why though? You know? Why though? And so, I liked how Jay Berry did it. That's all I'm going to say. I've been on this for like too fucking long. So let me crack it up. Another cold one with the boys. You the boys. If you the girls are non-binaries, that's cool too. Let's crack up with a cold one. We still love you, y'all. Valid. Love to see it. And let's actually get on to some new shit. So, trying to remember where we are. Next in this, and that's book tag. So, like I said, I just saw the books I read. Remember off the top of my head, I read, let's see, The Dead Man's Brother. These are books I partially read. It was a action novel where this art thief / dealer goes to the Vatican. It was pretty interesting. It was a pulp novel. I'll have to finish it. I also started Satan is a Lesbian. It was a 1960s lesbian pulp novel because I could. And I also and I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'm just going to have to look it up on my Libby because I have it in my library right now. And that is, let's see, Major Conflict, One Gay Man's Life in the Don't Tell Military by Jeffrey McCohen, Major USA Retired. So it's actually a really interesting book. The basic premise is that it's a memoir, autobiography. I'm not really sure what the difference is, because I'm a trash human being. About one man, he was in the army in the 80s, and he's basically just talking about how he was a soldier, but he's also had to, really deal with his internalized homophobia and what it meant to be a gay man living in the military, working in the military at that time. I'm going to talk about this more during my January wrap-up because I really want to finish this. I like the book. I want to get through it. It's just, I really haven't had the energy to actually, read some, heavy shit like that, so yeah, so those are the books I've been trying to read for January. So, little mini TBR, tentative TBR, I don't know. You get it. But let's move on. So, I saw this on video earlier today from the Worlds of Reading. She did this New Year's Eve tag and this New Year's book tag back to back. I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do book tags, and I feel like I'm not being high energy enough today, and I'm sorry about that, guys. I also realized that I might have somebody in live chat. No, I do not. Okay. Yeah, I don't usually get too many, I guess, people watching my live streams. And that's, not a judgment. I'm not saying you have to watch my live streams if you're going to be, a true subscriber, because I have, 16 subscribers, okay? I get it, ain't nobody got time for that, but I don't know. Maybe one of these days, if I get, bigger, I'll actually have people in my live streams, but I just like to have fun. Sometimes I like to be in front of the camera. Sometimes I like to, just film. And it feels good. It feels, energetic. It feels, social. It is an extroverted thing to do, so. Bitch, this is just from my mental, emotional hell, so I guess you gotta deal with that. I am being such a drunk bitch right now. I'm not even drunk. I had some champagne tonight, and then I was like, oh, but I'm literally just, sipping on this White Claw, and I am feeling nothing. Okay, nothing. Maybe I am feeling something, who knows. Okay, so the first one is New Year's Eve, and this was made by, I can't read my fucking handwriting. That's not who it's by. Marilee Kristen. Hopefully I said your name right, honey. You seemed really cool. I only watched half of your video because honestly I was zoning out a little and I wanted to eat tacos. So sorry about that. But Marilee Kristen she is the original tag maker, and there are 6 questions. Also, I feel kind of sad. I'm just saying kind of wasted opportunity, but no shade. Is that it's New Year's Eve, and I'm thinking could have like had 10 questions, and it could have been like a little countdown, but there's only 6, but that's okay. I got you, boo. I love you. It's fine. Let's get into them. Question number 1, Times Square. Let's see. I still can't read my handwriting. Okay, a book you've read that feels crowded because of how lengthy it is. So it has so many pages, you're just like, oh, this is so crowded. And I'm pretty sure what I wrote down, but yeah. And the book I chose was American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I read it this year. Now, I've read some beefy-ass tomes in my day, okay? But American Gods really took the cake this year. I've already talked about it on my channel. I'm pretty sure I just released a video, let's see, 2020 genre picks, where I talk about American Gods in some detail. Check that out. It's on my channel, so yeah, cool. But basically, it's just a really huge, it's fantasy, like supernatural, like fantasy, like novel, and it's so long. I read it as an audiobook, and it was like 12 hours long. It took me like an entire week to listen to, and this was back when I was listening to audiobooks like 2 hours a day. It was so long, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And then they had like this epilogue, and I'm just like, what could they possibly talk about? But then they get into like, some backstory stuff, and I'm just like, well, that definitely finishes some questions, because there's like this entire like middle part of the story where he's just kind of like relaxing and kind of like, just having character growth. And there was like this sort of like subplot set up, and you're like, oh, where's this going? But then the climax happened, and you kind of forget about it, but you're just like, they never really touched on that. But then the epilogue happens, right? And then they touch on it, and they're just like, yo, this is what up, and I'm going to get into it, and I'm just like, damn, Neil Gaiman, I'm like, first kind of like half chub, and second just like really impressed like in how much research and lore you've put into this book, because I'm just like, it was so much research and lore. Like, this man was like, Rick Riordan, hold my beer, okay? Hold my fucking Cosmo. As I bust out 600 pages of, like, God and demons, like, fanfic. And I'm like, thank you, Neil Gaiman. This is what I needed in my life. Like, this is why you have a show that is currently on Star Network? I don't fucking remember, like, where American Gods is hosted. It has, like, 4 seasons now, and I need to watch all of them eventually, but I'm not going to do it right now. But, let's move on. Okay, question 2, champagne. You mean what got me, like, crunk before I actually did this live stream. And that's a book with a bubbly character. Well, bitch, I am a character and I am bubbly, so do I count? No, I do not. The answer is blanking out, but... So, the character I picked was called Makono. If you don't know who Makono is, your life is sad and empty inside. I'm going to let you know that. Basically, Makono is this Pikachu-looking ass, like rice bun-looking ass, I don't know, fluffy Kirby portal thing from this amazing manga series called Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles by Clamp. Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles is like kind of the weirdest manga by them. It's pretty much a alt-U fic that literally has these 2 characters from Cardcaptor Sakura. They're aged up in an alternate universe, and they basically have to go on this crazy, like, Sliders-style adventure through all of these different anime worlds to get these magical feather MacGuffins, which are actually the princess's memories, so that she can remember everything. But there's, like, a whole bunch of other shit, and Makono is the mascot character. And Makono, imagine a, like... onigiri, is that what they call rice buns? Imagine like a rice bun, like your like most generic like rice bun from like jelly donut ass anime, and imagine if that was like a bunny rabbit almost. Like, you ever seen like those pictures of like Japanese food and they like shape the like rice like an animal and it's like weirdly cute and you're just like, why is that so cute? That's what Makono looks like. I don't have any pictures, but it is the cutest, like most lovely thing ever. And if it was a plushie, I would buy 5. 5 of them. Doesn't even make sense because there's like only 2 types of Makono, but I would buy 5 of them. They're so cute. And it is literally my favorite character of that entire series. I love Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles. It's my favorite manga series ever. And I only own the first 15 because I am trash. And mostly just because my friend Blue in high school gave me like her collection because she was done with it. And I'm just like, yes, I will take that, bitch. I will take all of the mangas. Thank you. Now, moving on, just because I'm getting way too talkative and silly, is question number 3, Sparkles, yay! And that is a book that added a little bit of sparkle to your life. Well, first of all, glitter is the herpes of crafts. Just want to put that out there. But if I'm going to add anything, I'd probably go with You Can't Touch My Hair by Phoebe Robinson. Not just because I just read that, but just because it was a fun time. I was like so giggly, and I just really loved. She had an infectious personality, right? Like, and that was some sparkles. That was some bubbly bub. It wasn't Makona like bubbly bub, but it was some bubbly bub. Speaking of bubbly bub. Next up is question 4, and that's, I still can't read my handwriting. No, it's oh, wow. Countdown. Dear God. Countdown, a book you finished quickly. I think the actual prompt was a little different, but it was like a book you were so excited about or so engrossed by that it was hard to put down, and I picked 2. The first is The Running Man by Richard Bachman. If you don't know what that is, there's a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's very different, but it got that spirit. I'll let you know that much. Basically, The Running Man is this post-dystopian sci-fi story about a man who goes into this fucked up, like, most dangerous game show where he has to run around and not get killed. Interestingly enough, I think there was a show on Quibi called Most Dangerous Game. It had Liam Hemsworth in it, which is, like, it's like Chris Hemsworth's brother or something. Apparently, they're like one of those families that have like everyone's like an actor. Who knows? And it's very similar concept. Like you have to run around, and like the more you survive, the more money you get. But they're going to kill you because it's the most dangerous game shit. But in this one, it's like this post-dystopian world, and it's just so well done. I think this thing had like 100 chapters, but it was like short chapters, right? So it was like really fast-paced, and it's such a good book. I read the entire thing back to back, like in one night, one time, just because I'm just like, I could go to bed, and I was rereading it, right? So you think, like, I already know what happens. I'm just like, I could go to bed, but, like, one more chapter, and then I just read the entire thing. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I had school in the morning, and I'm just like, I'm so tired, but that was an experience. The other one I chose, this is like a tie, was, This Is How You Lose the Time War by, I never remember the names, Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone, because there's 2 authors. And it's this beautiful, like, really poetic, like, fun story about 2 time-traveling lesbian spies. And they fall in love, and they write pretty poetic letters to each other about how much they're in love. And it is the cutest, most beautiful shit, and I loved it, and I would read it every single day. And if I owned it, I would cherish it and put it on my shelf like all of my other lemons. Do you get that reference? Like, if you do, you are a filthy whore, but that is okay, fam. That is perfectly okay. Next up, because I'm getting silly now, but hey, I'm on my second White Claw, so I'm just saying. And then it's Midnight Kiss. Ooh, I'm not getting that tonight, but ooh, well. Is, a good kissing scene. Like, and all these are, like, boiled down, because look how much shit I have to fit on this piece of paper. You think I can write down those entire prompts? What am I? I'm a person with small handwriting because I'm bad at references? No. And I was trying to think about that. I don't read a lot of romance, and I don't read a lot of, I guess, like, YA, which is usually where you see, like, you know, all those, like, sort of romantic subplots. I don't read, like, any of those genres, and so I'm like, what books have I read of the 62 books I've read this year that had a kiss in it? And I couldn't really think of, like, any really, like, standout scenes where I'm just like, like some rom-com bullshit. So I picked Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McKirsten because it did have some rom-com bullshit, and there were some really cute scenes in it. There's this one scene where they're standing in like a garden, like at like with this moonlight coming in, and like there's this party in the background, and I love that. Like that's like such a cute fucking scene. Excuse me. Then this time they bang in a hotel, that was pretty hot. I don't know if this kissing scene, but like that happened. Oh, and then there was like this straight up rom-com bullshit. Like, and it was great because like you're just like, this is some rom-com bullshit. And I'm just like, I love rom-coms. I love rom-com bullshit. Like, if there's just like, oh, I need to do some stupid ass thing to show you I love you, and I'm just like, you mean contrived third act, like, you know, drama? Bring it on. It's not always well done. For instance, I really hated it in One of Us is Lying because it was unnecessary and dumb. But this is a romance novel. And this is a funny romance novel. So they're allowed rom-com bullshit if it is done well. And so he literally flies to England. He's like ramming on like the door of the Buckingham Palace, drenched in rain, like that one scene with Castle and Beckett from Castle. You know the one that has like Castle and Beckett, the detective, and the show's called Castle. And like, drenched in rain, and he's like, "Why haven't you answered my text?" And I'm just like, this is some rom-com bullshit, and I loved it. And it was just like, it was such a cute story. I loved everything about it. And it's just, that was a good time. Like, I really liked that book. Okay, I am definitely getting wine drunk right now, and I am not ashamed because that book was so fucking cute, and that was like such a good scene. And I love rom-com bullshit. I will say it again. So, last question of this is question number 6, Noisemaker. A book that made you question your worldview. I think it was a little bit longer, the prompt, but basically, this is going to be, so you want to talk about Race by Hajime Olu. So, to get a little bit serious, because I've been kind of like, tipsy bird for the last couple of minutes. It was just a really great book. The reason why I chose this specifically, because I read a few, books on race, a few, anti-racist books. Oh my goodness, I'm such a good ally. Why don't I brag about it some more and, completely validate it? You know what I mean? Basically, what I really enjoyed about it was its discussion on things like mostly intersectionality and a few other topics that I really misunderstood when I was learning about these liberal concepts in 2014, when everything was about how Arnita Sarkeesian sucked and had bad faith effort, which is still true, but this doesn't invalidate, things like intersectionality or why it's important. Actually, if we can go on a little tangent here, because I was telling my mom about it, I think intersectionality is a really important thing to consider, especially when you look at movements like the civil rights movement or the gay rights movement. And without intersectionality, you really erase the works of Ida B. Wells or Marsha P. Johnson, who are these great, amazing activist women. But if you simply look at it from this very limited perspective, and you don't realize all the different, obstacles that people like Ida B. Wells or Marsha P. Johnson had to go through to work as an activist to be so influential, then you really miss out a lot of, what makes them so important to the cause and what makes it so important. I know a lot of times, especially, specifically from the gay rights movement, there are some people that definitely try to erase how black trans activists, specifically Marsha P. Johnson, contributed to Stonewall, contributed to, all of these activist riots and activist marches. And that's really fucked up, because there's really should be without intersectionality, you have people, nowadays that want to have this discrimination, that want to have, this LGB shit, and that's not okay. And so, having stuff like that, recognizing that everyone is a confluence of different privileges and oppressions, is really important, because it allows you to emphasize and understand where they're coming from. And obviously, you're not going to be able to do it perfectly, but that's just, one of the things that I didn't understand intersectionality at the time. Before I read this book, I was like, intersectionality is dumb because it just creates divisions in us by going to pointless identities instead of, accurately trying to find common ground. And that's a bad take, right? But now I understand that intersectionality is simply a way of trying to emphasize and understand that different people have different problems in life, and that it's important to recognize how those, problems and how those benefits intercede and, all of that. And the way that Hajime Olu actually explains it, how she basically discusses a lot of issues with race and how those tie into other people's hardships, with the class and sexuality, were just really, really well done. So, thank you, Olu. You were, an amazing person, and I'm not going to say I love you, because that's weird, but, thank you. You're really awesome, and thank you for writing that book. So, that's just a great book. Please read it. I've already mentioned 50,000 times, so I'm going to move on. Excuse me. So the next one, so that was the end of my New Year's Eve book out. Once again, it was by Miralee Kristen. Hopefully, you pronounced your name once again wrong or correct. Who knows? And this is New Year's book tag. This is the new one by Bookables, which that's a fun name. Let's say it 5 times. Bookables, 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 Bookables. So I'm just being silly, but when am I not? And so there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions on this. So we're gonna have fun with it. I love seltzer. Imagine shock counting this. That would be so much fun. Okay. Question 1 is, how many books are you planning to read in 2021? So I gave this a large amount of thought, by which I mean like 5 minutes. 5 seconds. A second. I just wrote down a random number, no, I'm just teasing. And I finally settled on about, I think, 50 books. I was thinking about doing 54, but if I'm being honest, I wanted to give myself a little bit of leeway, because I just kind of been slacking book reading wise this, this last couple months, and while I did manage to read, like, more than my, what are they saying? Well, I definitely did manage to pass my reading level from this year. My reading goal was 12 books, by the way. Damn, bitch. I got like 5 times more than that, and I'm not going to talk about how many of those were graphic novels, because it doesn't fucking matter. A book is a book, but no shade, no tea, like no qualifications. Let's keep going. But I thought, 50, right? If I don't read all 54, I'll be okay. If I do read more, I'll be okay. But I'm not going to stress about it. I'm going to read for myself, and that's what I need to remember. If I were any hobby, I need to do it for myself, for enjoyment. Because capitalism sucks, and the small amount of pleasure I can eke out of this rotten, disgusting system is the only thing is for my pure and wholesome benefit. I shall heal off of the crust and heaps of this slag of society. Such a pleasant idea for going to the new year. Good on you, Ryan. But 50 bucks, there we go. Question number 2 is, name 5 books you didn't get to read this year. So, some of these I just picked from my put-down list. Another 2 were from my, reading list I really wanted to read. I just haven't gotten around to it because I'm trash, and I just really haven't felt like reading, I guess, deep, insightful, impactful books that would change my worldview and help me expand my horizons, because I've honestly just been sad during lockdown, and I'm just like, can I just, worry about money and drink right now? I'm not really sure if I'm ready for personal growth, but let's actually say what they are. Let's see. The Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly. Undercurrents by Nora Roberts. Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. And How to Be an Anti-Racist by Abram X. Kendi. So those are the 5 books I want to read in this coming year. Will I read any of these? I have no fucking idea. Next up is, what genre do you want to read more of? And that's actually pretty easy. This one was just like, bitch, I already know. I did not write in my New Year's resolutions because I'm a trash pile of human filth, but bitch, I already know. There we go. Cutesy emotions. And that is romance. I don't read enough romance. By what I mean is that I don't read any romance. And I'm like, why is that? Is it because I'm a dude? Is it because of, I don't know, internalized misogyny? I don't fucking know. And I'm just like, why don't I read more romance? Because I definitely have a hard time finding romance authors I like. I know there are romance books I enjoyed. I like Nora Roberts. I like this Casey McChristen person. They're pretty chill. I like that book. I just, spent 15 minutes yammering about how cute it was. But I also read, romance books I don't like. And it's I want to dip my toe into that. I want to spend more time, develop my horizons, not be just some dude who's I don't read women's literature because women's books suck and they're not, aimed towards me. Mm-hmm. And it's true, I don't like a lot of romance novels because they can be formulaic, okay? A lot of romance novels I picked up, it's always hi, I'm a middle-class woman who's trying to just discover life, but I'm too busy having a career. Which, it's not a bad thing. Get that bag, honey. And it's I don't know what to do. I know I'm going to go on vacation to meet my sister who has kids for some reason. Because why do so many, romance novels have, children in them? I don't get that. I like kids. I might have kids in the future. I would not mind that if I, raised offspring. That sounds so weird to say it like that. But you know what I mean? I wouldn't mind, having and raising children. But it's, it's not something that necessarily interests me as a reader. But yeah, so most of these characters are I'm, this big career woman, and there aren't any good men, but then she finds some manic pixie dream guy who's usually, super, masculine and rugged, and he has a six-pack, and sometimes they're, Scottish or Irish, which is, I noticed, that's a weird, trend. I see that a lot in, the romance books, I picked up. But basically, there'll be, some sort of, not American person. So, tall, dark, and handsome, and mysterious, whatever. But And they'll just, like, have this whole thing, and I'm just like, this isn't interesting. Like, I don't care about, like, your career or your sister's children or, like, any of these, like, conflicts you raise in the story. And honestly, like, most of the stories I'm reading, it's just, where is this going? Like, why should I care about this character? And I like rom-com movies. Like, I like movies that have romance in them. So obviously I'm not opposed to these stories, but what makes rom-coms good is that there is some sort of central storyline. There's some sort of conflict that's not milquetoast boring. And that's the main thing that really makes me dislike a lot of romance novels, that they're boring. That there's nothing in the story that intrigues me. There's no reason that I'm interested in the character. There's no reason why I want them to get that dick honey. And I'm just like, you just need to give me something to let me know, like, why do you want romance this badly? Like, why are you looking for that dick? Why are you on this cruise ship? Why are you, like, this company? Like, give me something to make me care about you. And I don't always get that with romance. So it's like, I want to read more romances. I want to read better romances so that I can really enjoy it. Because if I find a good romance book and I read it, I love it. Like, I really love Nora Roberts because I read this fantastic Seal of Seven series when I was a kid. And now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should have not read it that young, because I was like maybe 12 or 14. And that was very explicitly sexual. And I'm just like, damn, Nora Roberts, you are a Midwestern woman that is the same age as my mother. But damn, is that shit smutty. And I loved it because I am a whore. But, well, I am feeling these White Claws now. But I want to read stuff like that. I want to read really good romance. And I need to explore more, because I tried like Brenda Taylor during the reading rush, and I hated it. I was bored to tears. I'm just like, Brenda Taylor, I want to love this. I want to care about you, but girl, like, come on, girl. Like, I am trying my absolute best right now to give a shit about these characters, and you was making this difficult. We could have had a story here, okay? We could have had some fun, but y'all gotta be around here with your boring ass dialogue, your show not telling, and the most unerotic kiss scene involving Peach Cobbler. You could have made that Peach Cobbler sexy, Brenda Taylor, but your difference. Hi, welcome to Full Spools Taking Out of Context. But yeah, romance. That was enough ramble. And we're going to get on to, let's see, question 4. Name 3 non-book goals for 2021. So I'm going to do my resolutions after this, so I'm going to skip this, do a little sneaky skip, and we're going to be talking about my resolutions in a minute. So, there we go. Question number 5. What books do you still need to read? So, I am such a naughty bitch, and I have not read enough books, okay? Wow, that was such a statement line. Such a hot take. But there's 3 books in particular that I was reading in Coos Bay. I wanted to finish, and I never did because I'm a little bitch boy, but here are what they are. I love how, like, so self-defeating I get the more I'm just, like, me, like, most of the time. I love myself, me when I'm drunk. Fuck me. Anyway, House of Leaves by Mark, Danielewski. I cannot read his name because I suck at writing. It by Stephen King. That was pretty easy to say. And Will Write for Food by Diane Jacobs. I need to read all 3 of those books. Maybe they're over there. I am pointing at my bookshelf right now. If you don't know, that's what my bookshelf is. Maybe they are under my bed. I have no idea. My books are, like, everywhere around my room. Like, most of them are over there. Some of them are on boxes. Like, I am filming this on top of a box of books. And on top of a box of wet wipes, interestingly enough. Yeah, some of the boxes in my room belong to, like, my aunt, but that's whatever. And so I need to read all 3 of those, like, super giant books, and I love them, and I want to finish them. They're just big and thick. Like, hopefully my future girlfriend, but who the fuck knows? Let's see. Moving on is question number 6, and what is one word that you want to be in 2021, okay? And that is fiscally stable. Like, if this was an edited video, I would have, like, that Liam Kyle Sullivan clip of his dad being fiscal responsibility. But I ain't, because this is a live stream, and I am a tipsy bitch. And so, yeah, I'd like not to be in dire straits like this entire fucking year. Like, it would be nice to have, like, a year where I'm not having financial problems. Ooh, baby. Like, can we not live in this capitalistic hellscape? Ooh, baby. That'd be so nice. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so, like, bitch needs money. Bitch needs a paycheck. That's all I'm saying. And the last question is tag a friend. So, here's the thing. I've been on BookTube for about 3 months now, and I ain't got any friends, like, really, like, people I actually talk to on a basis. I don't know why I keep doing this motion. It just felt natural, but now it feels unnatural. Now it's looking weird, and now I'm feeling uncomfortable. But so it's like, anyway, yeah. So it's like I don't really have a lot of friends, but I figured I did want to shout out a couple of cool sort of like small booktubers that are kind of around my range of like what I am. And I wouldn't really call them my friends, like, they're acquaintances, the people that I've, like, watched their content and commented on, but we're not, like, close or, like, really talk to each other, so I just want to put that out there. And when I was, like, looking at this question, like, first, bitch needs a friend. Like, if you want to be my friend, like, DM me, like, say, hey, you want to kill that? Because bitch needs a friend. Like, I have friends, but I don't have booktube friends, And so, where was I? So I basically picked two. These are basically just smaller booktubers. I think the content is really cool. I watch their content whenever I'm on, like, this channel, because I have my own personal, like, YouTube channel that, like, I watch, like, regular stuff on, and I don't watch enough booktube content, so one of the things I want to do for next year is definitely, like, spend more time networking, like, watching, like, other smaller booktubers, like, building a community with them, but, sorry, I'm just getting off track. Basically, the two people I want to shout out was Shadow Child of Hades. They're super cool. They do a lot of book tags, so I'm going to tag you with this if you want. Like, I feel like you might like it, but at the same time, I get, like, this is the 31st of December, so might be, like, the wrong time for it. If it is, like, sorry. And also, Love Story, I'd love to shout out. She has, I think, 120 or 30 subscribers at the moment, but she's really cool. I like her content as well, so definitely check this two out. I'm just going to say it again, just for, like, the analytics or whatever. So it was Shadow Child of Hades and Love Story. They're both super cool, like, booktubers. Sorry. So yeah, that was the two book tags. They were trash. I am trash. I am also maybe a little bit drunk. There's my smile. Did you like my smile? Was it cute? Am I cute? Oh my goodness, compliment me? Whatever. So, we're going to get on to my last favorite part, and I'm going to finish this because I had 3 White Claws planned out for these sections, and I have not finished my White Claw, and I demand non-sobriety for New Year's Eve because this year sucked. So, pardon me. Wow, that was it, Ryan? That's some pussy shit right there. No. Pardon the noise. And we're going to get into my New Year's resolution. And just because I am feeling cutesy and loved, and also bad at grabbing things with my hands and knocking things over and being a trash human being, is this... What the fuck? I love how I, like, drop my bullet journal and everything goes to shit. I'm filling up the space because I'm feeling uncomfortable. Okay, here we go. And I'm just trying to readjust because I have, like, this dip in my mattress because I've been trying to get, like, my mattress replaced. Well, not my mattress, my frame. And they were supposed to send a replacement, and they haven't gotten it in yet, and I've been waiting on them for them to call me, and they haven't, and I'm like, yay, but let's move on. First of all, this is what my New Year's resolution, like, page looks like. Is it cute? Do you love me? Can I have compliments and affection? Thank you. Excuse me. And so basically I broke it down to, like, 4 sections. One of these sections, like, miscellaneous, but whatevs. So, first up, actually, so here's the thing. I had a 3rd White Claw and I could not find it. And I'm like, excuse me? I am not tipsy enough in this situation. I am already a rambling fucking mess, but this is New Year's Eve, and this thing is literally called the New Year's Extravaganza and Drink White Claw event. Actually, I think it's just called the New Year's Extravaganza, but I'm also going to drink White Claw. So, that's an event. Delicious. So, once again, I put this into like 4 different sections, and it's basically like based on my category, right? I thought about like breaking into 7 sections and then basing it all off of like the different fields of health, like spiritual, environmental, physical, emotional, psychological, and social. But that felt like a lot of fucking work, and I'm a lazy bitch, so we're not going to do that. And let's see. So the first thing is physical health, right? So I listed like a big goal, and then I listed like basically smaller goals to walk through it. And the first one was I wanted to lose weight, right? And I'm just like, oh my goodness, Ryan, you're beautiful as you are, you're not fat, you're a hot piece of shit. First of all, no, don't be like that. I am allowed to want to be in a healthier body, and I am allowed to love myself regardless of what weight I am at, okay? I spent a lot of time in high school being like, you know what, I want to like be more healthier. I want to like, you know, be at a level where I feel more comfortable in my skin, where I feel more attractive and not like a fat piece of shit. And it's like girls were always like, and I don't know if you can describe it, it's like always that sort of like, I don't want to call them popular, just like horse girls, right? It's just like kind of like, you know, basic, like, you know, they just like whatever, and they're like, oh, sort of like bubbly and nice, but you aren't like really friends with them. I don't know, like, I was a nerd in high school, so I hung out with like a bunch of nerds. But they were kind of like, you know, just like, they had like basic, like popular horse girls. And they were always like, oh my goodness, Ryan, you're like so, like, pretty or beautiful. I don't know how people compliment men's attractiveness. You're like so handsome. You are like not ugly and fat. I'm just like, honey, I said I was fat. I did not say I was ugly. I did that like line wrong, but basically it was always the implication that like fat was a bad thing. I'm just like, no, like, I get it. I've always been an overweight person, and that's okay. I've always been comfortable in my body, but if I'm being honest, I want to, like, you know, be a bit more slender. I would like to not have all of this belly. Because even if I get down to, like, you know, my BMI, I'm always going to be a big guy, you know. I'm actually, like, 5'10", so I don't really feel that much like a big guy. But, like, I'm a decently sized bro, you know. Like, I got some beef on me. Like, I got that, like, you know, I'm a little bit thick. I'm, like, medium thickness, okay? I am, like, a delightfully crafted blizzard. Medium thick, okay? But it's like, I still want to I want to be in a healthier way. I want to be in a way where I feel attractive about myself. And I still like myself. I still think I look cute as shit when I have a few extra pounds on me. But I want to be at a better, like, you know, I want to be healthier. I want to really take care of my health, be fit, be athletic, look like a hot piece of shit, and just work it, girlfriend. Okay, like, I want that, okay? And that is not a bad thing. And I love myself no matter where I am. I am always going to be comfortable with my own skin, but that doesn't mean that I can't want better things for myself. It doesn't mean that I can't want to have a better body, to have a more healthier body, to have a more healthier attitude towards exercise and food. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if, like, you know, that hurts your feelings, if that offends, like, I'm sorry. Like, I really can't help that my, like, you know, personal decisions on health and fitness, like, affect you. Because really, that's just your insecurities, and I'm not trying to be mean. But all I'm saying is that for me, I want to be at a different part of my fitness, to be at a different part in my weight loss, and that's a personal goal for me. So, some of you are going to find that inspirational. Some of you might be like, oh my goodness, that's so fat-phobic, because it's like, you know, some fat logic shit. And I can't, like, you know, disagree with that. I definitely think that we do have this idea of diet culture. I'm not going to deny that there isn't this implication society wants you to be skinny and have a six-pack. Well, six-pack thing is like for guys, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm specifically mentioning how men's attractive, like, you know, how men's beauty standards, like, you know, affect me. But you get what I'm saying. But it's like, that's something I want. And here are some goals to help me get that, because I'm talking too much about beauty standards. Oh my goodness. So, I want to do some yoga again, because I really, really enjoyed doing yoga while I was doing it. It's something that's very much on brand for me, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. And hopefully I can have, like, some room over here that can actually help me get it, because I'm gonna get it. I also wanted to start running, sort of jogging, just kind of, like, get into that fitness, because I like the idea of jogging. I'm just really bad at it, and I feel like I could do it more. I want to get that stamina. I don't want to, like, you know, run for, like, 5 seconds and get out of breath and feel like a fat person, because that's kind of like the thing that makes you feel like a tub of margarine, is, like, when you can't run very far because you get out of breath, and then you feel bad about yourself. Like, any other situation, I'm just like, you know what? I love my curves. I love my handles. Like, me running, I'm just like, I hate my body and I am trash. But that's like, my self-esteem, not having any talking, but whatevs. So, I also want to run a 10-minute mile. A 5-minute mile is apparently, like, a big thing and, like, an accomplishment. And I'm just like, bitch, I ain't no accomplishment. I am a B plus average student. And I am proud of that because it means I know how to do my work, but I do not give a shit to excel because that's how you get your head in a chopping block. Like, I am going to be, like, middle of the pack, but a little bit above. Okay? Like, I ain't trying for no gold star. You give me a silver star, I can still melt that down for money. Okay. But yeah, 10-minute mile, I feel that's a reasonable thing to want to be able to get. And I think that's a good goal to go for. Because I don't think I'm going to be like an Olympian level runner in my life. Because, honey, I do not have the body for that. Like, I have the body for dance because I have beautiful hips. And I have the body to eat food because I have, once again, beautiful hips. Like, I do not have a runner's build. That is not in the cards for me. Like, my family was not built that way. My family was to look amazing in later houses, and that's about it. Let's see. Then I also wanted on the yoga side of things, I wanted to perform the crow pose. If you don't know what that is, it's basically where you're, like, standing on your arms. So you're, like, leaning forward, right, like this. You can't see it. But basically, you take your knees and you shove them in your armpits. And you balance on your arms. And it looks so freaking cool. So it's like, your legs go like this, right? And then your, like, body goes like that. And so basically imagine making like a letter R but with your body. And you're like handstanding. And it's so cool. I was able to do it for like 1 second like during my like yoga practice. And I want to be the bitch that can do that. I want to be that cool, okay? Like, this sounds like so much fucking fun. Excuse me. Let's see. Also, I want to try to do 50 push-ups. Like, because I'm really bad at my upper body strength, okay? I can do like maybe... Excuse me. I can do, like, maybe 10 push-ups at a time, and that's if I'm, like, alternating, because, like, and, like, doing that, like, up and down thing. He went up and down, he got all sweaty, and if you know what that reference is from, I applaud you, because that is an amazing movie. If you still want to guess the movie and you didn't get that reference, because I'm bad at doing, like, impressions, let's see. This isn't a closet, stupid. Closets don't have windows. This is the closet. If you don't recognize that movie, you aren't going to get it, but I'm pretty sure it has Freddie Prinze Jr. Pretty sure it has Freddie Prinze Jr. in it. That should give you a little inkling of what that movie reference was. But yeah, like, I want to do, like, 50 push-ups, like, just to see if I can do it. Maybe, maybe not, but, like, one time I was, like, texting Chris, and he was just like, yeah, whenever I'm, like, stressed, I just, like, do some, like, crazy-ass, like, like, calisthenics. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, I am very jealous. Okay. Confession, I've always been, like, kind of jealous at, like, how, like, athletic he is, because I'm just, like, I want to be like that. Like, I want to be an athletic bitch. Like, I want to be like, oh, I'm sorry, look at these feats of strength. I'm not just, like, a brain and a shitty sense of humor and a shitty sense of, like, self-worth. I can also do a lap around the track sometimes. I want to be a well-rounded person. And for me, that means that I really need to practice my athletics, because I don't just want to be, like, a tubby nerd sometimes. Because, like, yeah, I love that. I love that about myself. But I don't want to be defined by my weight as much. And I want to be able to enjoy athleticism as much as I enjoy things like, reading or writing or playing music. And athleticism is just, it's another aspect of human life, of human society, that I want to excel at. I don't think I'm going to be a great athlete, but I want to be more well-rounded. And for me, that means that I want to have an exercise routine. Next up, let's talk about me looking like a cute bitch, because like I mentioned earlier in my live stream, I only have, like, one outfit right now that I'm really into, and I love, like, most of my clothing, like, I have some looks that I am serving, okay, like, I have a style that I enjoy, but I want to have more, like, I want to have more personalizing of a statement, because a lot of my clothing, like, it's good stuff, but it's not perfectly, it's on brand for me. It's not as expressive as I want it to be. And it's not in a way that really makes me feel good. And so, I've been watching a lot of, like, stuff on, like, Lolita, like, YouTubers and stuff, and they're always talking about, like, how for them, like, wearing, like, a coordination, wearing, like, an outfit is, like, something that really makes them feel comfortable in their own skin, that really makes them feel like they're expressing their true self, that they feel most like them in an outfit, and I love that idea, and it's like, I love my clothing, like, I love the stuff that I've picked out, like, that I wear on a day-to-day basis, but I also want to have more stuff that really makes me feel, good about myself, that makes me feel like, I like to wear it. It makes me happy to, like, be in this situation. Just, I love this hoodie, okay? Like, this hoodie makes me feel like a soft little marshmallow person that's drinking Arizona green tea and is just a cute bitch. And I love that feeling for me, okay? I love that mood. And I want, like, I definitely kind of like this sort of aesthetic. I don't know what this aesthetic is called, but I love this, and I want more of this, is basically what I'm saying. But where am I getting onto? I want to do more of my fashion, right? I want to be more fashionable. I want to have a look for me that is more defined, more me, than a lot of my clothing, which is mostly just the shit I've had since I was in high school. So, out with the old and with the new, I want to be... I don't know, I want to be more fashionable. I want to have a greater sense of the style than I have before. So, here's some things I want to do to actually get that done. First of all, I'm going to do a closet clean out. Not right this fucking second. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I am going to do a closet clean out. I am going to go through all of my shit, like Maria Kondo, that shit stuff. But I don't know if I'm going to be doing it in January. I might be doing it in February. I might film it in January just so I can, like, edit it, but we'll see, But pretty much, like, I want to do that. I want to, let's see, the second part was, begin defining personal style. So I want to start, like, buying clothing that's really my type of thing. I've been, like, what's it called? Window shopping, like, all year, and I've seen so much cool shit that, like, I want to be like, oh my goodness, I want this on me. Namely, there's this t-shirt, I love it. It has, like, an alien, and it's, like, sucking up a person, and it says, get in loser, we're doing butt stuff, and I love that, and it's so fucking funny. And apparently my aesthetic, according to this Tumblr quiz I took, is called Ghost Punk, and that basically just means I listen to AJJ, and I share pictures of tombstones and cryptids, and, excuse me, bitch, first of all, I do not like being titled out like that. That is rude AF. And second, I do listen to AJJ, and I do listen to the Front Bottoms, but really my main love is Dark Cabernet, and you need to get with the fucking program, because I'm just like, AJJ is great, but have you listened to Amanda Palmer? Have you listened to the Vermilion Lies? Have you listened to obscure, obnoxious band that I'm talking about, like That Way to the Egress, and the Men Who Will Be Blamed for Nothing? I just don't really listen to the men that won't be blamed for nothing actually that much. But you get what I'm saying, it's like, moving on. But yeah, I also want to buy a dresser. Like, that's in the cards, that's like in the program, but right now I'm working on getting this bed frame redone, then I'm working on the bookshelves, the desk, then the dresser last. So, I'm going to get furniture eventually. I'm going to spruce up this place. Like, it is the Spruce Goose. Like, it is Spruce East. Like, it is a third item that has the word spruce in its name that's a pop culture reference. But, like, I'm going to get my room, like, fixed up, and it's been a while. I've been working on getting a car. I've been trying to save up for furniture. I just really haven't had a chance because literally the fucking pandemic is still going on, and that fucks with my, like, economic stability, and I love that about myself. No, I don't. No, I don't at all. It sucks. But it is what it is. So, yeah. Run through, just because I've been kind of rambling, is do a closet clean out. There's going to be a video on that sometime. Define personal style. I'm going to buy a bunch of shit and it's going to look cute. I'm going to talk about it because I love myself. And buy a dresser because I need furniture. And all I have is this really cute bed. I've been, like, dreaming about having, like, this bed in the background, being like, oh, I'm sorry, look at this. It is a day bed and it is cute and it is my beautiful, beautiful life. I'm also going to be getting a new one soon because the frame is fucked up, and I'm getting this replaced because I went to like a really nice, like, local furniture place. They've been working with me, and they've been really nice. Sorry, I was bitching about it earlier. I was just upset. But, let's get on to the not fun and not cool and the not, like, sexy part of my resolutions. And that is hygiene. Yay. Now, I try to take care of my hygiene, like, I was a crusty bitch, like, in high school. Now, I wasn't, like, a nice guy or a neckbeard or anything, but, like, I looked the stereotypical part. Like, I had, like, this beard, and my beard wasn't sexy and grown out like this, and then, like, frame my beautifully chiseled face like it does now, because, let's be honest, my facial shape is a lot better than high school. I'm just saying, like, It's such a weird compliment to give myself. I'm just like, oh, Ryan, I love your face shape. Like, now that you're older and your bones have elongated, you don't look like a chubby pootie. Not a puta, but a pootie, the Italian, like, winged baby that everyone calls a cherub, even though everyone knows a cherub is actually a three-faced winged being that is horrifying to look at, but whatevs. But, yeah. First of all, I need to floss more. I don't floss, and that's a bad thing, and that's apparently why I have cavities, and I need to get those fixed, which is the next goal. I need to call my fucking dentist and get my wisdom teeth out and get my fillings and not be a gross, broke-ass bitch. Maybe get some orthodontics, because look at this. I used to think it's cute, but now I'm just like, maybe I want straight teeth just so that I don't, like, have no teeth in 20 fucking years like my parents. Not a dig at you, Mom and Dad. I love you. We just have really bad genetics with our teeth, and maybe drinking all of this salsa isn't helping me, but damn, it is helping my, like, emotional state at the moment. So, there is that. Sorry, I'm stretching. Also, I really maybe should see a dermatologist. I haven't been having, like, really bad eczema lately, and you guys do not need to fucking know this. But, just real tea. We are having some real tea today. We are spilling the tea today. What the fuck am I doing? But, moving on. I want to learn how to, like, trim my beard properly, because every time I, like, shave, I don't know how to, like, trim my beard. So, like, I'll start, like, doing this, like, little stuff, and they'll just, like, get caught on the razor, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna shave it all off. And so I just shave it all off. I'm, like, clean shaven, and I hate it, but I'm just like, luckily I've been able to wear a mask this year, so if I fuck up my beard, I just, like, slap a thick-ass mask on. I'm just like, that's right, masks. They're like hats for your beard. And they kind of are, but I want to learn how, like, really style my beard better, because I really like how my facial hair is shaping my face lately with the way it's been grown in, because I've been able to, like, grow more facial hair as I get older, because I don't know how it works. Like, what do I look like, a biologist? But basically, like, my beard is coming in a lot nicer, and I like that. Also, maybe because I'm a little bit, like, drunk, but it actually feels really nice, just, like, stroking my beard. I'm just like, this is a nice sensation, but what else? Yeah, I want to learn how to trim my beard correctly. I want to learn more about skincare, because I don't do anything, like, I don't wash my face even enough, and it's like, what type of thing should people use for skincare? Because I'm not really into the whole metrosexual look, okay? Like, some guys, like, if you want to, like, get pedicures and, like, do all this shit and look glam as fuck, like, that's, like, you do you, honey. Also, I should mention that metrosexual it has some interests. Okay, so I would like to mention that the origin of metrosexual was basically the idea of a straight man who had the skincare routine of a gay man. And that's kind of weird. Like, I get we have that whole, like, queer eye for the straight guy shit, but the exact idea of metrosexual was very much the idea of a straight man who had this sort of fashion sense of this stereotypical gay man. And I would love to know where, like, that stereotype came from, that it's, like, gay guys were just, like, super, like, trendy and, like, looked amazing all the time. Because I'm sure, like, there are men that are like that. There are, like, gay men that are like that. But it's a very specific and interesting, I guess, stereotype. And so the idea of, like, metrosexuality, like, definitely plays into that stereotype of the very trendy, very, like, posh, like, gay man. And so, I don't know, like, I don't know where I was going with that, but I would like to know a bit more about, like, skincare. Like, it's like, because I have, like, these horrible eye bags, like, I always look like an exhausted raccoon all the time, and if my face just wasn't so expressive, you probably would notice it more. Because, like, when I smile, like, you can't tell that I have under eye bags, but, like, I can tell. Like, okay, I look in the mirror and I'm just like, damn, bro, was it a tough night last night? Because you look like dog shit. So I would like to know more about, like, skincare, especially since, like I mentioned before, I have some really bad eczema sometimes. I actually been having, like, eczema on my feet lately, and I know that's weird. I know it's a weird thing to tell people, but this is, like, what? An hour and a half into a live stream that nobody's watching, so this is where we're gonna get zesty. This is where we're gonna get weird. But yeah, like, I should probably, like, look into, like, how to fix eczema, just get some like hydrocortisone cream, because sometimes I get itchy and I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to have them pain or those hives or whatever happens with eczema, because it's not a fun time. Also, like, the under eye bag is a big thing for me. Like, once again, I look like a dehydrated raccoon, and it is not. Oh, look, honey. I don't know why I keep doing that. Other things I want to find is, I want to find a good shampoo and a good cologne, because, so here's the thing. As a cook, I don't really wear a lot of fragrances. That's just a thing. Industry-wise, it's a very fragrance-free environment. You're in a tight metal container with a bunch of other people for about 6 to 8 hours, 6 to 10 hours sometimes. And generally you don't want to be smelling like whatever the fuck they have in GQ, like magazines. Like, I smell like these like cologne samples from like magazines, and they always smell really bad. Like, I don't understand like fancy colognes, because like I'll smell this shit and I'm just like, what even is this? Like, why do you smell like somebody took like a sea breeze and they like had a computer translate it into like chemical, like, scents like 15 times in a row? Like, why do you smell like the Google Translate of the Mandias? Okay, like, why do you smell like the Google Translate of me walking outside on the beach? Like, cause this shit don't smell good. This shit smells like, I don't know, like a cheap ass air freshener to me. Like, I don't get that. For me, I want to find good cologne. I want to find like, good shampoo, just because I definitely want to have something that smells. And for me, it really is the smell. Excuse me. I don't know. I want to have, I guess, like, hygiene products that are just nicer, more specific to me. Because I buy pretty basic shit. Like, I buy literally Dove for Men soap and, like, the most basic, I don't know, thing of shampoo that you can. And I want to definitely find something that works better for me, is something that I like smelling on me every day. Because I feel like an unfrosted cupcake, and I want to be a tasty cupcake, okay? Like, I want to smell nice and feel nice, and for me, that's finding good hygiene products that fit with me, that really, I don't know, like, give me something that, like, looks forward to the day. And, the last one is, I also need to find a brand of deodorant, just because, I don't know, I want to be more concerned about that. I don't put on deodorant enough, just like I don't floss enough, and I know I'm a trash human being. You get in all the reality that you didn't want to know, like my eczema, and the fact that my feet are itchy, but it's just, what it is. This live stream is already a mess, okay? I am on my third White Claw, and this live stream is a fucking mess. So, last one is, I guess, like, the real shit, like, all this other stuff is just like, you know what, I want to find a better shampoo. And this shit is, like, the hardcore. This is what I want to get my life in order. I am going to sacrifice. I'm like, you know what I mean, like, the first, I want to learn the ukulele better. I can't speak today. I want to learn the ukulele better. There we go, now we enunciating. And one thing I want to do is that I have this app on my phone, Musician, but you have to pay money for it. And last year it was just like, fuck this shit. I ain't paying no money for this. I ain't paying money to learn things. But here's the thing. I've had a ukulele for about a year. I love it. It's great. But I know like 8 chords, and most of the songs I play sound like shit. And I'm like, maybe I need to actually have some sort of structured classes. And I figure, what? I pay $8 a month, actually practice, learn shit, like, do a year of it, then I will be in a good place to, like, self-learn. And so I figure, like, I'll get that subscription, I'll start learning ukulele, I'll practice a little bit every day, be a good bitch, and that way I can feel, like, more confident in the instrument, because I like playing the ukulele, but I also feel that I'm not where I want to be in learning it. Like, it literally took me over a year to learn that chucking was a thing, and that's, like, apparently a really basic thing. So obviously I'm bad at self-learning, and I'm not really having the energy to, like, look at and make it, like, the biggest thing in my life. So having a app that can, like, actually teach me, even if I have to pay some amount of money, I figure it's worth it. Next up is, I want to really step up my Spanish learning this year. So, hola, me llamo Estrellón. Yo estudié español para 3 años, pero Mi español no es bueno. Yo no sé más palabras es más problema. So that was trash. Sorry, all Spanish speaking community members and subscribers. I'm sorry. Lo siento, es mi problema. But I definitely want to step it up, you know? I want to actually learn how to do Spanish a lot better. The grammar on that was just atrocious no matter what language I'm speaking. But I want to be able to be fluent. You know, I want to be able to actually be able to speak it at a good level, especially since how many people in the culinary industry are, like, you know, Hispanic or, like, you know, speak Spanish in some variety. I want to be able to communicate, and I also want to be able to have that second language learning, because it's been a dream of mine. It's been like, I dream a dream. I'm not actually singing because it's like late at night, but it's always been a dream of mine to be polyglottal by the time I die. I know it's like a weird thing, but I'm just like, you know what? When I die, I want to flex on the haters. I want to be like, yeah, bitch, I cured cancer, and I can speak like 3 languages, so what you doing? Oh, working at Arby's? Sucks to be you. Actually, if you work at Arby's, that's kind of cool, and now I want curly fries. You can tell where my priorities are right. The right place. That's where my priorities are right at. But yeah, like, I've wanted to learn, like, multiple languages since, I guess since I quit high school, since I graduated high school, which, honestly, Ryan, like, maybe get your priorities in order. You could have taken language art classes, and then you could have gone for your second degree. But I didn't do that, and now I need a second degree credit if I want to get another, like, you know, degree. So those are, like, you know, long-term goals right there. But basically, yeah, I want to learn Spanish a lot better. I want to be fluente, as they say, or at least, I don't know how to say competent in Spanish. I guess suficiente. You know, like, I want to be able to have a conversation with somebody in Spanish that isn't like, lo siento, mi español no es bueno, yo no sé más palabras, ¿dónde está la biblioteca de los perros grandes? Like, I don't want to be that guy, you know, like, wow, I used to know the word for idiot because de la cocina de español, but I don't anymore. Also, you can tell that I'm getting to a good amount of tipsy because I'm actually doing the whole code switching thing, but I cannot remember the word. There is a very specific word that means idiot in Spanish. It's not idiota, it's something else. And I love how it sounds, but I cannot remember what it is. But, yeah, I want to learn Spanish better. So I'm going to probably, I think I do like one, I'm on Duolingo, that's what I use. I don't use like Mango or whatever the fucking, like, you know, language app there is out there. Rosetta Stone. No shit, I'm sure Rosetta's like pretty good. Like, it's, well, you know, famous for a reason. But I use Duolingo because I'm afraid that it's going to kill my parents if I don't. I'm just teasing. That's just like a meme. So I'm probably going to, like, go from, like, doing 1 lesson a day to, like, 5 lessons. So, like, about half an hour. Like, just be a good bitch with that. And actually trying to, like, you know, get better at my Espanol. Last one is, I really need to buy a car this year. I was meaning to buy it this year, but the COVID happened. And guess what happens when the COVID happens? I don't buy shit because I am broke. I am very broke. I am just like, where's the money? Not here. And so hopefully this year I'm going to actually be able to buy a car. I have some saved up. I'm going to try to save up some more, even though I do not currently have the trabaja. I'm just going to go with that, I guess, like, running gag. So it's going to be a fun time. This is also why I'm drinking, just because I should be good. I have, like, you know, some paychecks coming in, and I'm going to work on trying to get, like, you know, onto the unemployment, because I should be able to with the way that everything's going, but if not, I should be good for this month, and I still have a job at, like, you know, the grill. It's just, we're in the off season, and we're in lockdown, so it's not happening, yay! So, hopefully by March we'll be okay, and if not, I'll just, you know, sit tight. Just keep on my money, not do anything, don't spend anything, you know. So I should be okay for a couple months. But, yeah, I really need to buy a car this year. Just actually have my own wheels, have my own independence, and be able to do that. And it's not, like, you know, that difficult. I've been seeing more, like, you know, used car places that have cars that I could buy outright. Because I have about $3,500. But I want to make sure that if I do buy a car, it's good quality. It's not something that's going to, like, break out on me, so... Excuse me, finding the needle in the haystack is going to be the issue. I'm trying to look if there's anything else I want to do. I had some suggestions I wanted to buy this year because I try to buy myself, like, one nice thing. Like, a beautiful, like, present. And for me, that is a subscription service. So I had 3 I wanted to buy this year, besides Netflix. Because I keep Netflix because I watch Netflix. I'm not watching Netflix a lot now, but it's just because I don't... Netflix is when I'm feeling good about myself. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm, like, you know, a bad bitch. I've done things today. I'm going to play Minecraft and watch Netflix. But lately, I'm just like, I feel nothing. So I'm going to rewatch, like, I don't know, like Lindsay Ellis and Sophia Nygaard videos and just stare at the ceiling in pain and Inu. Ennui? Is it ennui? Is that how it's pronounced? Ennui. I always pronounce it Inu, like it's like emu, but I know it's ennui, but you know what I'm saying. This live stream is a fucking mess. Thanks for being with me. Like, who the fuck is even watching? This is 2 hours of me just rambling and drinking White Claw, but yeah. So, once again, a couple of subscriptions planned. Netflix, obviously, because that's the only entertainment that I watch besides YouTube. Shudder is... So, if you don't know what Shudder is, it's like this cool... And this is not... Okay, this is not sponsored. I'm going to take another drink. Okay. It's not sponsored. Basically, it is a streaming service for horror fans, right? So, they have these documentaries. They have this one called Horror Noir, and it's this amazing documentary about, like, depictions of black people in horror films. So it starts off with, like, you know, just, like, a really racist, like, voodoo shit, and goes all the way to, like, Jordan Peele's, like, you know, Get Out and stuff. And I want to see it so badly because it looks so cool, and I love when people talk about, like, you know, things like, you know, racial depictions in cinema, because it's really important to recognize how representation changes over time and how we have, I guess, better or more nuanced ways of depicting it. And I think it's also really important to recognize when you have, like, you know, diverse voices in media. Also, fun fact, if you did not know this, Final Destination 2 was meant to have a black protagonist. But guess what? Hollywood was like, no, you cannot have a black protagonist in a horror movie. That's dumb, because we're racist and shitty. But, so that's why we had, like, you know, that. Who the fuck was in Final Destination 2? I know somebody was in Final Destination 2, and they were very famous, and they were very blonde, and I'm going to derail this entire live stream just to look at Final Destination 2. Okay. Give me a second. 2003, that's when it came out. And it was AJ Cook. That's who it was. I'm like, it was some blonde chick that I love and see all the time. And it was AJ Cook. If you don't know who that is, they play JJ in Criminal Minds. What, you don't watch Criminal Minds? What are you fucking doing on this channel? But, yeah, so AJ Cook. Also, the writer of Final Destination, which I think is so cool. And I love them, and they are amazing. Give me a second. Okay. I don't know why I can never find his fucking name. But basically, the creator of Final Destination, right? He has a name, and it is here somewhere. Do you ever just, like, can't remember something, and it's probably because you've been, like, heavily drinking the entire night? Found it. Jeffrey Reddick. So Jeffrey Reddick is the creator of Final Destination. He's the guy that came up with the concept of, like, you know, Rube Goldberg's death slasher people. And also, no one talks about this. He is a black gay man who is constantly trying to write black gay characters. Well, black and gay, or black or gay, you know what I mean? Like, into his scripts. And then Hollywood's just like, nah, fam, ain't no blacks, ain't no gays, we're gonna white straight watch this. And I'm just like, what the fuck, okay? Jeffrey Reddick is a fucking national hero, and I love everything this man puts out. It's like, yeah, Final Destination, this can't be a shit, but it's like, that is so fucking cool. How many directors, okay, how many horror directors do you know, okay, or black, okay, right? You do not have that diversity in horror cinema. And it pisses me off. I watch so many fucking slashers with just a bunch of white teenagers. There ain't no gays in this. This is like literally the last slasher film I watched ahead again. It was, let's see, Polaroid. Not a great film. And let's see. Blumhouse's Truth or Dare, which also not great representation. Weirdly enough, Polaroid had much better representation. And I don't even think, like, that chick had a girlfriend either. So it's like, but yeah, like, Polaroid, it was like, hey, I'm just, like, my casual lesbian best friend. I'm just like, that's cool. But, like, Blumhouse was like, yeah, hi, my character arc is, am gay, have dad. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, come on. But I'm getting off topic. Basically, Final Destination is amazing. I love it. And also, Jeffrey Reddick is amazing, and I love him. But I keep getting off track. Shudder, it's so cool. It's like this horror anthology. It has like all of these like horror things. I want to watch it because I am a horror bitch. I am a horror fan. I love horror. Have you met me? All I talk about is like horror. I know I'm so cute and bubbly, but it's like on the deep inside, I just want to watch teenagers get slashed because I am a deep dog goth bitch. No, I'm just teasing. Pretty much like I look all bubbly on the outside, but on the inside, it's just like a screaming torrent of pain and suffering. Trickles down the window, reflecting my inner turmoil. Damn, I should like dye my hair black and dress all in black with like chains and stuff. No, I'm just teasing, but yeah, it's like I love horror. So like Shudder is like obviously what I want to get. I've wanted Shudder so badly ever since I got like the week-long free trial. And it's like, ooh, you want the month-long free trial? And I'm just like, I do, but if I do that, I'm going to like buy you forever, and I ain't got the money for that right now. Like, I was just grifting so I could watch Cannibal Ferox, but like, damn honey, like you convinced me. If I had money, I would buy you forever. So I'm gonna buy it forever, basically. Oh, they have such good stuff. Like, they have Cannibal Ferox, and also, what's really cool is The Darkest Night. It is this podcast with Lee Pace. I love it. It's by Earl. How many podcasts do you listen to where it's like headphones, both ears, it's like, boo, 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 in both of your ears, and you're like, oh my goodness, I am shook in both of my ears. Like, it's so cool. So it has, like, it has a great, what I'm saying, great selection, great curation, like, so many great, like, horror originals, and I'm just like, damn. If I was less ethical, I would pirate that shit, but I'm not going to because you're surprisingly cheap. I feel like this has just become an ad for Shudder, but I want it so much. I love the idea of it. It is everything I ever wanted in a streaming service, and I'm just like, come to me, daddy, okay? Come to me. Get that bag, sis, okay? Didn't even make sense. I'm that tipsy right now. Okay, musician, obviously, and I wanted to get a book club this year. And I'm just like, Ryan, why are you buying so much shit when you ain't got money? And I'm just like, see, this is my fault for living in a world that has a pandemic and for choosing an industry that I find emotionally fulfilling, but unfortunately is very susceptible to people not buying things because it's a national fucking pandemic. See, that's on me, okay? Like, I could have become a computer science major, and then, like, I would have not had to deal with this shit, because it was also an associate's program, and I could have worked from home, but I had to be a fun bitch and cook like I've wanted to do since I was 6 years old and had an entire career path like already planned out. That was on me, okay? But yeah, I wanted to get a book club, and I'm kind of juggling between like the spooky horror book club and the cheap paperback like used book club. Because I'm just like, on one hand, like cheap but book, on the other hand, it's like reasonably priced, but shiny thing also sometime. And I'm just like, shiny thing also sometimes sounds really fun, but I also am, I like cheap things. I am okay, like, Goblin Core is a thing, but if Goblin Core was for like, sorry, like, if Goblin Core was for like budgets or like not having money, that would be me, that'd be nice. Like, I'm just like, you want a 2-for-1 special? I'm just like, ooh, daddy, like, what else you got? It's just like, I also got 20% off coupons, and I'm just like, oh, I love that. Like, I am a sucker for like budgets. Like, budgets, why do you keep saying budgets? Bargains. I love bargains. So I'm just like, cheap thing, like, thing for cheap price, like, ridiculously cheap thing. Like, I want that, but there's also like, it's by the same company. There's also this other book club I've been looking at that's like, it's a horror thing. You get like 2 to 3 books and the horror or thriller or something like that, and you also sometimes get cool things. So it's like, you can get like a skull or something. I don't even know, like, just like weird like horror like accessories. I'm just like, that looks so cool, and I'd love to have like bookshelf decorations, but I do not have bookshelves, and it's like right now all I have is like a single like shelf, right? And I don't even think it's a bookshelf. Like I don't even fucking know what that is. Like I'm just like looking over at my bookshelf, and it literally looks like something that you would see in like a boutique store where people like have decorative soaps or like fancy bottles. So I've never been in a boutique. Okay, I don't buy boutique thingies, but it looks like something that people would put soaps on. Okay, it is not a bookshelf. It is literally a metal wire rack. Okay, like that's the best way to describe it. Like it's furniture, but it's like that is not a conventional bookshelf. And my entire bookshelf was just like shoved top to bottom, like literally floor to ceiling, with like just books shoved in sideways. Like if you've been seen my TikTok, I have a TikTok now. It's just False Bills 123. All of my social media is all the same. Okay, except for my Instagram. Just check out my what the fuck? Check out my description and you can like look that up. But yeah, so I have my TikTok, right? And like you might have seen it on there, but I just have all of my books just shoved in there. And I ain't got any space for like, fancy baubles and trinkets and tchotchkes and bric-a-brac and whatchamacallits. And that was actually a pretty decent pick. Go me. So it's like, what the hell, It's like, do I want to choose a cheap thing? Do I want to choose the cool thing? Can I choose a cool thing later? I don't know about it, but basically, like, those are the things I want to, like, get streaming services in the new day and age. And I might have to hold off on them. I might have to, like, wait till I actually get back on the grill pay check stuff before I actually, like, start getting subscriptions. And that's just what's up. But, yeah. Anyway, guys. I know I said I was going to stay till midnight. But if I'm being honest, like, I'm spent. I had I had a lot of fun, just talking about shit and being silly, and I'm probably gonna be so embarrassed at this video, at this live stream, when I actually get down to, watching it tomorrow, because I've probably spent the last hour drunk off my ass on White Claw, not realizing it, being a dumb bitch, but I wanted to talk about this shit. I wanted to talk about, the books I read, I want to talk about my resolutions, I want to talk about these book tests, and I just wanted to have fun, and yeah, maybe it got silly, maybe I just got weird about it, but I don't know, it's like, sometimes I think you need to have a place in life where you just have to, be a dumb bitch, and I don't get a lot of opportunities in my life to be a dumb bitch, okay, I feel like a lot of times I always have to hold on to this very strict, golden standard, always, biting my tongue, always, being this, perfect, polite person, and it's nice to just have an outlet, to have a place where you can just be as stupid as you want, to be just a ridiculous, fucking loser, and have fun, and talk about dumb shit that no one should talk about in public, and be a silly person. So if you like that, thanks for watching. If you didn't, this is the end of a 2 fucking hour long live stream where I do nothing but drink White Claw. Once again, this is my 3rd White Claw. I'm going to finish this right now, just for fun. Just to do it, just to prove my point. Bruh, that was nothing, okay? That shit was fucking flat and warm. I've probably been holding that for, the last 20 minutes without realizing it, but, it's whatever. I've been up way too long tonight, and I think what I'm going to do is probably just, sit back, probably watch another, really stupid movie, because I'm really wide awake, but I don't know, I've kind of, done live streaming, I've talked about everything I want to talk about, and I don't really feel like we're going to get anything else out of this live stream, because honestly, this thing has been trash from the beginning. I'm just like, what's a book? I don't remember anymore, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for being there. Thanks for watching my channel. And I realized that I'm not that big. I'm probably never going to be a super big YouTuber, but I'm still having fun creating content. I'm still having fun making new things. And for me, for right now, that's okay. And when that stops being okay, when I'm kind of tired making content, when I'm kind of tired of doing that grind, I'll probably put it down. Maybe I'll start another project sometime down the line. But for right now, I'm enjoying learning. I'm enjoying creating. I'm enjoying excuse me, being here, having that hustle, and even if I do dumb shit like this, where all I do is blabber onto a camera for 2 fucking hours and drink White Claw, at least I'm doing something that makes me happy. At least I'm doing something that feels real, that feels authentic, that shows people that I'm me, that I can be a person that exists outside of, I don't know what people think I am, or what people expect me to be. And I don't even know what that means, but it's like, I like having this channel. I like having this voice. I like having a platform to just talk about whatever I want to. And right now, I'm talking about books. I think it's fun. It encourages me to get back into a hobby I really, really love. And I've loved for a long time. And just have this thing that's kind of separate from, I know, everything else in my life. Outside of my friends and my family and my other interests. And I guess, like, my career. And I worry a lot about, like, a lot of things. I worry about my family. I worry about, like, my friendships. And if I'm just, like, being too needy. I worry about that, like, a lot. Like, I worry that I'm, like, the needy friend a lot. And maybe I just need to get better having friends. And maybe I need to have, like, other sources of relationships. But I like having a channel where I'm just, like, I talk about dumb shit. And I talk about fun shit. And I just want to be a fun, silly, weird person because that's who I am. And I like that about myself. I like being able to look at myself and being like, you know what? I can do better. I can be more sociable. I can do some stuff that really helps me, like, grow as a person. And if this channel can help me with that, if this channel makes me do stuff that I enjoy, that makes me happy, then so be it. I like that about myself. I like being this person. And I like having this channel, so I don't really know where this went. This was a weird live stream, and if I'm being honest, once again, I was very drunk for the majority of this. I finished off 3 White Claws, and I was already a little bit, like, steamy, like, before I did this, because I also drink about 3 bottles of champagne tonight, so, this shit is gonna get demonetized. This shit might be getting taken off the air. I don't even fucking know, okay, but I had a really nice night just talking to you guys, having a fun New Year's, because I definitely think this stuff was a lot funner than last New Year's, mostly because last New Year's my mom had a stroke, but yeah, that's kind of like, personal shit, so I don't really want to talk about it. It's nothing like terrible, mom's doing fine, it's just, that's some personal shit, like, I don't want to get into it. Oh, why did you bring it up? You didn't want to get into it, Ryan, but you know what I mean, like. But yeah, so, like, this has definitely been a better New Year's, and weirdly enough, I've had a better year this year in 2020 than I did in 2019, and that's saying some fucked up shit, but 2019 was just such a shitty year of my life. I was in such a dark, miserable place, and there were some, like, good things about it. There were some ways that I grew and got stronger as a person, but I was more happier in 2020, and I was not that happy. Like, this is a shitty-ass year. This was not a great year, I've been feeling really frustrated and really just put, like, in a lot of different places in this year. But I've also known that I've done things that have made me grow as a person. And while I haven't done everything I wanted to do this year, I have done some things. And I have been challenged less, which is nice, actually. I definitely feel like I've had some good times, and I think in 2021, I can work to have better times. And I know that I'm in a position where I'm going to work harder and try harder to have a better life. And try to make sure that for my actions and for calling my fucking senator, because, come on, people, have you seen this fucking country? Like, preferably having a better future, so. This shit got maudlin real quick. I don't know why, but all I really want to say, guys, is I hope you have a good New Year's. I'm going to let you guys go because I'm just way too tired right now. Like, I'm kind of, like, done talking. I'm kind of, like, done, like, being on camera, and I'm kind of ready for bed, if I'm being honest, so. Like I would say, guys, wash your hands, you love what you love them, and I can get into my whole, like, ending preamble, but all I want to say is I really appreciate that I have this platform, I have this community, I have these subscribers, and so if you are watching, thank you for watching. I don't know why the fuck you are watching. Maybe you're as drunk as I am, and you're just like, I need some random white guy from Medford, Oregon to like ramble on the camera while drinking White Claw for 2 hours. But if that's what you need to boo, I got you. Like, I love you, okay? Like, I love you, okay? Like, just, you got it, fam. I'm here for you, so, yeah. Anyway, guys, False Bulls 1, 2, 3, you know the drill. I'm signing off.